Good morning. My name is Judith Reece, and I'm delighted to be talking to you today at this event. I'll start with a confession. I'm an accidental technologist. I trained as a doctor. I always wanted to be one, even when I was 5 years old. I never, ever considered maths, engineering, or technology as careers for me. But today I love how technology and technologists have drawn me into their fold. So what do I actually do? I lead a team of experts in digital product development. We work together with the scientists and medics who discover and develop new innovative medicines and vaccines. My days are spent trying to find solutions to really difficult problems. Perhaps if I give you an example, you'll understand a little bit more. One of the medicines that we're developing is for people who are living with a disease called ulcerative colitis. This is a chronic condition. It affects one person in 500. But because we're developing a new medicine for a very specific group of these people where there's no current treatments that are effective, we're looking for a much rarer population. It's a bit like looking for a needle in a haystack. This population is so rare, a better example, we're looking for a needle in a field of haystacks. Traditional approaches to finding these patients weren't working, so we turned to technology. First of all, we were able to use some simple modeling and make some assumptions. So one person in 500 are living with the disease. In our headquarters office building, pre-pandemic, we had about 5,000 people in the building. So we figured out that if we posted a post on Workplace, we could find volunteers who could help us design a digital campaign because they were actually living with the disease. Workplace is Facebook for work. Strangely enough, within hours, we had a panel of willing volunteers. They helped us understand that they actually didn't use certain communities, but they used social media such as Twitter to connect with other people like them. This then helped us to develop a social media campaign, an online screener, helping them to fill out and determine if they were eligible for a clinical trial from their own home. That's really important if you have ulcerative colitis, because actually getting out of your bed when you're in a flare or a bad disease state is really difficult. So not having to go to a hospital to check was really important. And then only if they were eligible were they asked to travel to a hospital site to be considered for enrollment in the study. By taking such a customer-centric, data-driven, agile approach, we were able to launch the solution in weeks, and feedback from the patients and hospitals positive. And the drug project were very happy because we ended up finding patients that had been hard to find. My team used these types of approaches within GSK, and I'm privileged to report to our Chief Digital and Technology Officer. However, if I'd been asked when I was at university, would I be advocating to join the technology industry? I would have thought you were mad. Why would I do it? I'm not reading IT. However, I'm part of the tech leadership at GSK. So what happened? How on earth did a career track academic like me end up where I am today? Let me share my secret. My career has been defined by a series of experiences, each of which is loosely connected by a passion and a desire that I've always had to improve patients' lives. The path hasn't been linear, but it's taught me a lot. How else would somebody like me, a quiet, introverted medical scientist, end up working in one of the most impactful and interesting spaces the world has today? I'm really proud to say I work with brilliant, smart colleagues located across the world as we jointly help people do more, feel better, and live longer. Although I work in the tech function, like every GSK employees, what brings me to work today is the knowledge that my work helps vaccinate the world's children, enables people to breathe more easily with asthma, or live their best life with a chronic disease. And we also help treat, and in some cases cure, cancer. As a first-year undergraduate, I was forced to take a computer science class. In Ireland, the government at that time decided to run an experiment. Every single undergraduate was required to read this subject for our first year. I remember with horror sitting in that first huge lecture theatre, being introduced to this subject. I was horrified. I never signed up to reading computer science. I had to pass this additional subject over and above those which I already knew about. And this one had written exams, and I had to hand in a set of coursework proving my prowess, and at that point I had no prowess, in coding. I was terrified. I feared, as many of my friends did. And we were reading subjects like French, history, music, medicine, botany, physics, but we were all about to become statistics. One of those students you meet in your first year at university, but never makes it to the second year. Looking back, however, this was a great experience. I made lifelong friends, predominantly late at night, and I learned a lot about behaviours. Clearly those fortunate enough in our class to have chosen to read at IT, tech or computing were miles ahead of us, and they often departed early to the college bars, having handed in their coursework easily. Some of us were able to eventually work out a solution to the intractable problem as far as we were concerned. It may have not been the best coding, but it did get there in the end. And then we had friends who this was never, ever going to be their subject. That taught me and others the importance of decision making. The most important decision in that first year of university was, it's 10:30 at night. It's coming up to last orders. Do I stay here and try and help somebody else get through this course? Or do I go and join the mathematicians and the computer science majors at the bar? I'm pleased to say that in general I stayed, and I have a lifelong set of eclectic friends, including musicians, artists, lawyers, theoretical physicists, and a few who actually read maths and computing. I'd gone to university to read science and medicine, and this experience shaped my life. Since those late nights in the computer science lab, I was intrigued enough to continue to take supplemental classes in computer science alongside the standard fodder of anatomy, biochemistry, physiology, pharmacology. As we graduated, my classmates and I had, strangely enough, learnt to touch type, and we recognised that whatever we would do, technology could help. I started to practice clinical medicine and in parallel embarked on my first love, a medical research career. I balanced my time between clinical and the time spent in the labs trying to investigate how the human brain developed. I was working with families whose lives had been turned upside down at that moment of joy when they were expecting their newborn baby. I worked with premature babies who were born 20, 21 weeks before they were due. And strangely, whilst not thinking about technology, I brought some of that thinking that I'd gained from my time at first year at university into my work. I was looking at patterns of how brain cells or neurons develop. And after all, the brain is a very, very efficient computer. And the back of the eye, the retina, can actually be modelled as a series of fractals. Gradually, I realised that medicine and science were being transformed and could be transformed for the better by technology, and that I was well positioned to help make those changes, but only if I became part of the biopharmaceutical industry. The way medicines are discovered and taken through the process of testing has changed little for hundreds of years. For very good reason. Patient safety is absolutely paramount, and everything needs to be done in a sequential approach. Technology has transformed how we live, and especially over the last 10 years. So in my view, medicine should be no different. Technology offers us up chances to accelerate and to improve the process of medicine development. For example, in this global pandemic, it's accelerated the ability for patients to continue to have treatment through virtual or remote hospital visits. However, when I joined the industry, joining a pharmaceutical company was a very difficult decision. The industry's reputation was worse than that of the tobacco industry. However, I took a leap of faith. And in my view, it's turned out to be justified. In my entire career, I've never met a single person who did not put the patient and the patient's safety and their needs at the center of the process to develop new innovative medicines. So one of the first things I did when I joined a pharmaco was help teams understand that computers could be utilized to capture data automatically and date and timestamp it, reducing the need to have people write notes onto paper forms, have these manually entered by a nurse, then send that piece of paper to a pharmaceutical sponsor, who then entered the data into a database, who then sent somebody back to the hospital clinic site to check that the doctor and the nurse had done the transcription for it correctly in the first place. Challenging and changing that process took 3 years, but ultimately it allowed more than 750 people to be released from mundane data coding and data entry and to be enabled to do bits of the jobs they found much more interesting, value-adding, and we actually enabled us to develop more medicines. Strangely enough, that was a really pivotal moment. It was the first time that web-based and electronic data capture had been used in our industry. Since then, I've had the privilege to work on many new drug projects, and in every single case, we've used digital, data, and analytics tools in innovative ways, enhancing the focus on science, reducing the time spent on robotic activities, with the ultimate goal of developing medicines that benefit people faster. For me, in this digital age, technologists have the power. We all hold the power to change the world for better in our hands. If you've ever watched The Social Dilemma, you can learn just how unsatisfying it can be to apply those skills to social media. And in that particular film or documentary, I'm not sure which it is, the result was a deep desire for purpose. Alternatively, if you've ever read the future focus film or book Ready Player One, the final scenes indicate the need to integrate technology into our lives as opposed to make technology enable an avatar-like only existence. Despite what you may have heard about Big Pharma, it really does answer a purpose. Pharmaceutical companies and biopharma today are a place where technology and the people with expertise in it are incredibly highly valued. If you love working with big data sets, have experience in AI, machine learning, healthcare organizations have those types of skills and data sets in abundance and are always seeking more experts. If transforming people's lives through is important to you, consider using your technology skills in a field where you can help deliver perhaps potentially core technology services, enabling us to work remotely, help protect our data and systems from cyber attack. Or if edge computing is your thing and you're curious about knowledge graphs or other future-focused technologies, we now partner in doing those types of things with drug and discovery scientists to create new medicines in a new way, to accelerate the pace at which we get those medicines to the patient and reduce the probability of failure. GSK has a clear business strategy. It's all about innovation, that's delivering new medicines, performance, doing it efficiently and effectively, and trust. We must always maintain trust, and it's raised to the power of culture. In research and development, we have an additional strategy. It's known as the multiplier. It's science multiplied by technology, multiplied by culture. This is really important. This is an indication to everyone that technology is at the heart of our business. Tech's the glue that brings everything together. From scientists working in research labs on models, through development, on working in clinics, with people, with commercialization, sales, and marketing. Without technology being a multiplier, our industry cannot work effectively. Today, only 5% of the top FTSE 100 companies have women in their CEO positions. Around 18% of the same cohort of companies have 33% of women in leadership positions. So I feel incredibly privileged to work in an organisation led by Emma Walmsley, reporting to Karen Ann Terrell, and working at times closely with our Chief Medical Officer, Sabine Luik. Some believe that it'll be more than 80 years before we see an equal representation in the future. However, let me tell you, I fundamentally disagree, because I believe without doubt that equality, fairness, meritocracy, openness and diversity of thought are the most important qualities that an organisation can have. And I know that is reflected throughout our most senior leadership. As such, I am very confident many of you in this virtual room will be leaders in your organisations, wherever that you choose to be. And I'm sure that a few of you could be CEOs. So in closing, I'd like to leave with you 3 key thoughts. Firstly, count your blessings. 2020 has been and continues to be for all of us a challenging and a very hard year as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. There are many people who have spent years, and in some cases, such as newly qualified airline pilots, huge amounts of their own money developing skills for industries that are struggling. Think of the chefs in the hospitality industry and the newly qualified pilots. You have trained in technology. This demand for skills is significant, and technology as an enabler of every part of every organization's business is a growth area. I'm not saying 2020 has been easy, but at least there's some benefits. My second piece of thoughts would be, don't rest on your laurels. For me, my career has been marked by a consistent need and desire to upgrade and improve my skills. Recently, I heard somebody say that even a newly qualified biology or molecular biology PhD will be out of date in 2 to 3 years due to the pace of scientific advances. So we all need to learn, irrespective of backgrounds, how we can maintain and update our skills. So for me, I've had to adopt a mindset across my entire career of constant skill refreshing, updating. And one of my top tips here is be curious. The way I would describe it is avoid becoming or having a reputation for being a know-it-all. Instead, create a habit of being a learn-it-all. Be inquisitive and continually build and enhance your capabilities. Whether it's by attending an event like this, read a book, watch a film such as The Social Dilemma, and form an opinion. There are many different ways to learn. Thirdly, find your inner passion and seek work in that area. For me, it's been easy. I've always wanted to connect everything I do to improving the lives of patients. So for me, it's easy. I vaccinate the world's children. I help people breathe easier, and I help people live their best lives with disease, and even treat, and in some cases cure people with cancer. Over your working lifetime, you will spend many, many, many hours at work, whether that's remotely or as part of a team in an office, a lab, a factory, a retail facility, or a manufacturing plant. So try to find a role in the organization where you will feel you want to be and be able to bring your whole self to work that excites you and keeps you happy. Finally, I have an ask of each of you. Whatever you do next, don't give up on the power and your voice. You, the next generation, have lots of insights, and we need to have diversity of thought from many different ways. So ask the question, bring your perspective, and one day, I hope, I'll work for one of you. Thank you very much.